Okay, so the RAN system is often divided into different layers. Okay, so each of which is responsible for different aspect of the system. One common way of conceptualizing these layers is through the Open Systems Interconnection, or the OSI model, which is a conceptual framework that describes the communication functions of a telecommunications or computing system. Okay, so the OSI model is a set of concepts that describes and standardize how a computer or telecommunication system communicates, regardless of how it is built or what technology it uses. Okay, so yung ating OSI layer, if you can still remember, we have 7 layers. Okay, each of which represents a different aspect of communication between devices on a network. Okay, so meron tayong iba't ibang layers dyan. So yeah, I hope you still remember the OSI model. Can I get a thumbs up if you still remember the OSI? If you still remember your professor who taught you the OSI layer? Meron ba bang nakakaalala dito ng OSI layer? So let's have a quick run through, no? So meron tayong physical layer. Okay, so ito yung layer responsible for the transmission and reception of raw data over a physical medium, such as the copper, okay, or fiber optic cable. And then we have the data link layer, responsible for reliable transmission of data over a shared physical medium using protocols such as yung Ethernet or Wi-Fi. And then we have the network layer, responsible for routing data between different devices on the network using protocols such as the IP or the MPLS. And then meron tayong transport layer, responsible for ensuring reliable and efficient data transfer between devices on a network. Ang gumagamit nating protocol dito is the TCP or the UDP. And then we have the session layer. Okay, so this layer is used for establishing and managing communication sessions between the devices on the network. Nandito yung mga protocols like RPC and NetBIOS. And then we have the presentation layer, responsible for formatting and presenting the data to be transmitted over a network, katulad ng mga ASCII or JPEG. And lastly, meron tayo nung application layer, responsible for providing high-level services and applications to users, such as yung email, web browsing, and voice calling. Okay, so each of these layers plays a critical role in the operation of a radio access network system. So enabling mobile devices para makakonect to the wider network and access the wide range of services. So if you mapped it, no, sa radio access network, yung ating OSI layer, and then you will divide these layers into the main divisions ng radio access network natin, like the radio unit and the baseband unit. You can see that the layer 1, 2, and 3 can be found in these components, the radio unit and the baseband unit. And the other layers can be found in the other parts of the network. And then sometimes we find it hard to memorize, no, itong mga sequence nung ating mga model, no, nung 7 layers. So we have mnemonics na ginagamit dito. So we have the 7 layers mnemonics. So if you're starting from the application layer down to physical layer, all people seem to need data processing. Okay, all people seem to need data processing. So application, presentation, session layer, transport, network, data layer, and the physical layer. But if you're in the Philippines, we have a different mnemonics, right? And the mnemonics that we use most of the time, can you type in? So, ano na, no? Especially yung mga suki niya noon, Asia Open na Academy, alam na nila. Okay. So in the in the Philippines, we have a different set of mnemonics. And if you're in abroad, and if you want to share it to your colleagues abroad, you say it, ang pulis sa tulay nadapa. Ganun ang pagkakabigkas, no? Ang pulis sa tulay nadapa. Okay, yeah. So you will sound foreign also. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's how we memorize the mnemonics of the OSI. So kailangan nyo tandaan dahil pag pinag-usapan na natin yung run splitting mamaya, these 3 layers will be very critical and important. Okay, especially when we are talking about different configurations, different network splits. Okay, these 3 are very important. Okay, especially also if you are in the radio access network or engineering department. So this the analysis most of the time are done in this network layer and the physical layer. Okay. Okay. Now let's map the run in the OSI layer here. Okay. So you can see let's start it here. So these are this is the table of the OSI layer and then mapping the radio access network layer. Okay. As mentioned, the run mapping to the OSI layer falls in these 3 layers: the network layer, the data link, and the physical. Specifically, if you go for the run, okay, the radio access network has different protocols, but the protocols can be mapped into the OSI layer. Like for example, the RRC, the radio resource control, okay, protocol, it can be mapped in the network layer. The packet data convergence protocol and the radio link control and the media access control can be linked in the data link. And the air interface can be in the physical layer. Okay. So later we'll discuss what are the functionalities of this RRC, PDCP, RLC, MAC, and the physical. So let's go back to the interconnection of the radio access components. So kanina, you will become aware that the UE or that user terminals is connected to the radio access network, right? This is the radio access network. And then you have the core network. Okay. So if we focus on the radio access network, there is an antenna system. It could be passive or active antenna system. But if you go for the RF part, the RRU, the remote radio unit, okay, so this is where the physical layer can be seen. So the physical layer consists of the RF conversion. Okay, so the modulation and demodulation is happening here, analog to digital and digital to analog. The BBU performs a lot of tasks. Okay, so that's why it's one of the important part. Okay, so the BBU holds this RRC, PDCP, the RLC, the MAC, and the physical. So what are these protocols? No? So the RRC or the radio resource control protocol is responsible for broadcast, paging, connection management, mobility functions, measurement configuration, and reporting. So typical example is that whenever somebody is calling you, the network needs to be to page you para hanapin ka ng network. So it uses the RRC protocol. Okay. Before mag-ring yung telepono mo, it will be page muna. Hahanapin ka muna kung nasaan ka. Okay. And then the PDCP, the Packet Data Convergence Protocol, okay, it's responsible for the IP header compression, okay, and security. So it includes yung ciphering and integrity protection. And then once na lumagpas yan dito sa PDCP and then yung RLC, kung pababa tayo, we go to the radio link control protocol. No? So this is where the segmentation, pinaghihiwalay na natin yung mga headers, no, na galing sa PDCP. Okay? And then kung malaki yung data, we have to concatenate, no? Or segmentation or concatenation. Meron tayong mga automatic repeat request, okay? Kapag may mga errors tayong na-detect, and duplicate detection. So dito nangyayari yan sa RLC. And for the Mac, the medium access control, nandito nangyayari multiplexing. Pinagsasama natin yung mga logical channels dito. If you're familiar with the carrier aggregation, this is where the carrier aggregation happens sa Mac layer. Okay? Nandito rin yung mga hybrid automatic requests, channel mapping, and then packet scheduling, and then yung mga quality of service. And yung pinaka-bottom na part is yung physical layer. Nandito yung mga error correction, yung mga cyclic redundancy checking. Coding, okay? You are adding bits to the packet, no? Or to the existing bits, no, para magkaroon tayo ng redundancy. And then yung modulation, so dito na papasok yung mga 16 QAM, 64 QAM, or QPSK, okay? And then the modulation, and then you will be doing the resource element mapper. So if you have this resource element, like for example, if you're using LTE, so there is what we call the resource element mapper and the inverse fast Fourier transform. Okay, so this is where the best illustration of the RAN and the OSI layer mapping. Okay, so if you look at this in the table again, this is where the RRC, the network, the PDCP, RLC, and MAC, the data link, and the physical is here. Okay, so that is the RAN and OSI layer.